All right, we are live once again for the Fantasy Football Expo podcast live, and this week we are uh, joined by Mr. Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy. Thank you so much for joining. I gotta say, I'm fanning out a little bit because I started playing fantasy football on Yahoo, and every time I start my draft, I get a little nugget of advice from Mr. Andy
Idiot.
Behrens. Thank you for joining us today, and looking forward to again seeing you at the expo. Are you excited for this year?
Oh, I'm always excited for the expo. It's kind of you to actually remember the live draft videos. I feel like they get a little bit more, I don't know, bitter every year, a little bit more sour every year. Like I tell you more things that are wrong with your draft slot than I used to, right? I used to be so full of optimism and hope and man, you're going to crush this draft. And I feel like, I don't know, if you've got the 9th pick, the 10th pick, you're going to get some harsh truths in there. So apologies for that. But yeah, no, I'm always excited for the expo. Last year, I think last year was the only year that I've missed it. It was because we did like a, sort of once in a lifetime family trip to the Olympics. That was great. So I missed it for that and only for that purpose. But I would not miss it for any other reason. It's just an awesome event. I don't know. I feel like I used to jokingly call it fantasy prom, but it's not fantasy prom, right? It's better than that.
It's fantasy
more like
class reunion.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man, that is actually what I was going to say, except there's a much higher concentration of people that I legitimately want to see at the expo.
Your family reunion.
No disrespect intended to my to the class of '89.
All your families at home go, "Oh, we're going to make sure a note of that."
But it's a wonderful chance to reconnect with people that, and it just happens like at that time of year where everybody who's like in the industry, everybody who's about to like really be in the grind of producing football content has just a couple of weekends left before that really starts. And so we're all in a great mood and we all understand what's about to hit. And it's great. It's been a great event.
We appreciate you coming in, Andy. And as always, I'm always deeply touched. And I know I've said this a million times, but I'll say it again. Without you, Brad Evans, Mike Clay, Dave Richards, none of this happens because you were the guys that helped me take my idea of a best of best draft and do it in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, my hometown, Canton, Ohio, and you guys were all in. It happened. From there, the expo becomes the weekend, and now we're heading into year 6. And again, it all started with your guys' support. So as always, I thank you so much for being a part of this and supporting this every year because it is, my dream that comes true every year, but it's also a lot of people's, like you said, it's just everybody looks forward to it. I look forward to it. Every year we get new people coming in. I think that's what excites me more. It's not that I don't love seeing you, Andy, and everybody that every year, but just these new people who are excited about their product, their brand, their app, their whatever they have. And they're at that spot where we all were at one point. We're trying to make, we have a passion, we have a niche, we want to do something with it, and we don't know where to go with it. And, Bob Harris is not a great.
I was actually going to say one of my absolute favorite things about the expo is it's my one chance each year to trash talk Bob Harris to his face, to tell him to his face how bad he's failing a draft. And then that opportunity, like I have to wait another 365 days. So I can't. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. I'm sure.
I don't want to skip steps here, but Bob, you are absolutely going to bungle your draft.
Yes. Bob, just not me, Bob. You, Bob. Andy, talk about though. Let's go way back for you, so that everybody who maybe hasn't heard this story can kind of learn about your humble beginnings. Not where you started with Yahoo, where you started playing fantasy football. What year was it? Who introduced you to it? How did it all get started for you? Just give us a little bit of a background of just those beginnings for you and when it all got started.
Well, my actual first attempt at it was a pretty spectacular failure because like a group of buddies in college, like
Okay.
one of them had kind of heard about fantasy, but this is like 1990, 91, something like that. One of them
back in the late 1900s.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. One of them, not even that late, honestly. One of them had heard of it, but he literally only knew that it was fantasy football, and it somehow involved, translating the performance of actual players into a league, and that's where it ended. He had no additional knowledge, hadn't done any
No
reading.
idea, scoring method, rosters, nothing. It's
Yeah,
just,
and so he created a league in which he wanted us to have like full NFL rosters. We're drafting 5 offensive linemen, and they're going to start, and somehow he's going to put together a complicated scoring system for that. And of course, it was like, this is pre-internet too, so somehow we were going to score this from newspaper box scores, and he had a very complicated idea that could not be executed by
timely basis.
10 knuckleheads who were barely showing up for class each day. So that failed. And then when I got into the workforce, when I had like a legitimate job, like a legitimate, pre-fantasy industry job, pre-sports media job, out of school, I was in a great work league, and it was really, really fun. I still talk to a bunch of those guys. And I actually think that the reason that I became obsessed with fantasy, like I had good teams right away. I understood some of the basic concepts right away. It was a simpler time, right? It was an easy game to play. But I was, I understood that I should be drafting Emmitt Smith if Emmitt Smith was there for me. So I had like great early teams. Right. But I was absolutely snake bit when we would get into the playoffs. And so my first fantasy, I think that like the first 3 years that I played it, I made it to the fantasy championship, and I lost in some sort of spectacular fashion. One of the first ones though was nobody likes to hear about other people's fantasy defeats, but this one I had just like a monster lead, like insurmountable lead going into a Monday night game. And I was talking a lot of stuff, as Bob Harris knows. I will occasionally do. I don't really have humble beginnings, by the way. I should say that I was talking a lot of stuff in this league, making a lot of noise. I was already like the coronation of my championship was happening.
Dusting off the shelf for the trophy, the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I was calling people. It was something, and I was very proud of myself on that Monday. And the guy I was playing, I think it was the Niners and Vikings were playing on Monday night, and he was starting Jerry Rice and Steve Young, and Jerry Rice had almost 300 receiving yards that night, and 3 or 4 touchdowns, and Steve Young, of course, threw all of them, ran for another 400 plus passing yards in an era when nobody threw for 400 yards, and nobody ever had 200 receiving yards. So like those two guys shattered individual scoring records in the league. This dude comes back and beats me, and I either called in sick the next day or I thought about calling in sick the next day. I don't even, history has forgotten whether I was actually at work to face the music the following day.
I would have been sick in general. Yeah.
It's just brutal. And that experience, and then losing in subsequent championships, just like, it just crushed me. And I became really obsessive about it. Right. And so the first fantasy championship, which I, didn't celebrate until it was actually won. I really, that felt pretty good. And from that moment on, I was just absolutely obsessed with fantasy sports generally.
Nice. Gotcha. Well, as somebody who went 12-2 in the regular season and 13-1 in the regular season in both King Classic leagues, and then didn't even make it to the finals, I feel your pain.
Yeah. And then we shared an FSGA team, and that went, we were number 2. It was like a 12 and whatever. And then we lost in the
that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And took a dump in the semifinals. I had a very rough time, but it's not about me. So
but it is funny though, because like I can't tell you that much about like fantasy teams that I had that were really good and won leagues and might have been the
Mhm.
better one. But I can remember almost intimate details of where I was when I lost certain fantasy titles and the players involved in offending me when I thought I should have
Mhm.
won fantasy titles. Right, like that really sticks
Oh,
with you
yeah.
a lot more than the wins.
Yeah,
I
the
did
ones
not
that
draft Doug
let you
Baldwin for
down.
many
Yeah.
years because of issues with him losing me fantasy titles. So, uh, really quick, wanted to shout out the chat. Jorge Edwards, he says evening to the three of us, and then
Oh man,
Tootsie
he's
Pop.
great. Love that guy.
Yeah, Tootsie Pop. Maybe this year she'll get to meet you, Mr. Andy Behrens.
How did she not meet him in the past?
I'm very available at the
I
expo.
would say, yeah.
I'm not ducking any
How did Tootsie
social
Pop
gatherings at
not
the
meet
expo.
him ever? Unless no,
Was
last year wasn't her first year, was it?
I'm not sure.
Tootsie
Um,
Pop, we need your response, dear.
I feel like it might have been her second year. So then she might have
Okay.
come the first year, and
And then was too afraid to talk to Andy, and then last year he wasn't there. Maybe she'll reply. She'll reply, I'm sure.
so this is a common theme this year that we kind of have worked towards with kind of building the new stuff with the expo. Every year we kind of do something new. I should say Bob does something new, and this year we really try to focus on the fans, but also recognizing that there are people that come in that are more introverted, that aren't necessarily part of the group that would just walk up and start talking to you. um, so we kind of so this is where we came up with the ultimate fan engagement package, the meet and greet, which you're part of that, Andy. But the question that I've been asking everyone is, if someone were to walk up to you at the expo, what is it that you would want? Like, what would grab your attention? What would kind of trigger a conversation that the way you would want to be approached?
Oh man, I mean, you can approach me all kinds of different ways. The one that sticks in my mind is Carrie Markham walking up to me and commenting on like a dumb T-shirt that I was wearing, because I will almost certainly everybody there's wearing dumb T-shirts.
Oh, yeah.
We're all like full dork mode at the expo.
Right.
So Carrie just talking smack at me almost immediately. Um, yeah, like if you walk up to me and tell me, wow, like if it's after the Kings Classic and you're like, wow, how about that crap team Bob Harris drafted today, huh? We're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm buying you
That's right.
drinks.
Nice. There we go. Now, is it also dinner if he's standing next to you and they say that?
There's a it doesn't count if it's Bob himself who says that.
Gotcha.
Bob's not getting dinner or drinks.
Here we go. Here's the best intro ever. Are you from Tennessee? Because you're the only 10 I see.
Nice. I like it.
As you imagine, I've never heard that.
But yeah,
Sweet, good stuff. Well, Andy, talk about obviously we had our. Let's talk about the first Kings Classic with 2018. I know that I was petrified. I really was, because I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, is this gonna work? Can we do two leagues at the same time? Is Sirius XM going to play? It's like all these things, because
Yeah.
we'd never done it, right? And I talk about your thoughts coming into that, seeing all the guys that I don't know how many of those guys you would have met personally prior, probably maybe a few, but maybe not as many as we all think. But talk about that first one in the upper room, the Gold Jacket Lounge of the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, first of all, it was my first opportunity to see the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and it's pretty overwhelming and great. It is an actual great experience, and I obviously I don't need to sell anybody who's been to the expo on just how fantastic the Pro Football Hall of Fame is, but it's really a wonderful experience, and it's a new experience every time you go. They cycle things in and out. It's really fun. There's some space dedicated to fantasy that's really cool. The whole thing, the bus were amazing. Like, it's great. It's an absolutely great experience. So I enjoyed, first of all, I don't know, an hour, 90 minutes or so walking around the hall, and experiencing that for the first time. So that was great. And you're right. I was, people that I'd interacted with for years
Mm-hmm.
online, it was, I feel like I'd been face to face with a handful of people at FSGA conferences
Oh,
before,
true. Right.
but not everybody goes to those, and a lot,
Right.
for the FSGA is a wonderful organization that does good things.
Mhm.
Conference coming up in Chicago, all that, but like it's a different price point, and you don't get as many content creators there, so it's a
Right.
different group of
And
people.
no fans, obviously.
Yeah, and it's very much an industry conference, so it's
Right.
not
It's a
designed
business to
for
business.
fans to interact with you. Right. It's a very good point. And so, like, I'd met a handful of content creators there, but not a lot, and certainly not everybody was in the draft. So that might have been the first time that I'd like hung out with Dave Richard, and it was certainly the first time that I'd spent extensive time with a whole group of people in the industry, meeting a few new people, and almost right away there were people trying to break into the industry who were showing up to those things, and were at like Buffalo Wild Wings in the early days,
Right. Yeah.
and that was just a really good time. And it was the early ones were great. I think I won one or two in the early days. It's been a while. I might have a little drought going in the Kings Classic.
You're like the Cleveland Browns of the Kings Classic. You won titles years ago.
Yeah, I'm like the Steelers, maybe, where I'm just like I'm hanging on. I'm not getting relegated. I'm fine. People are starting to point to Barron's record of making the postseason, but he doesn't have any recent titles. Right? I'm like that. That's where I am. That's the spot I found. But it's just been great over the years, and I was pleasantly surprised the first year at how much I enjoyed Canton, and how much I shouldn't have been surprised at how much I enjoyed the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but I was really like, there's some stuff in there that it's just kind of breathtaking, and really like puts you in touch, like just at the absolute right time of year, puts you in touch with like love of the game stuff, and like you feel like a kid appreciating football for the first time, and it gives you a little bit of appreciation for your job before you really get thrown into the fire and maybe start hating the grind again.
I remember the thing that caught me that day was when one of the guys, I don't know if Sandra was there, one of the producers was there, and showed me his Twitter, and hashtag Kings Classic FF was actually trending on Twitter, because
That's
there were
awesome.
so many people listening on SiriusXM and commenting on the draft picks and who was picking who, and that was the moment where I was like, oh, this is bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
and it was just like, wow, okay.
You've always managed to have it at the perfect time too, where like the general public is just starting to pay attention to fantasy. Obviously in the fantasy industry bubble, it's always best ball season, or we're always mock drafting, or like something's always going on. But like, still to this day, like maybe 97% of the fantasy audience is not really like people who actually play it. People who are playing the millions of leagues out there, they're not paying a whole lot of attention until like
not till usually
early August, middle of
usually
August.
the week before is Hall of Fame game, and that's kind of the wake up call, and everybody's like, oh, football started.
Yes. Yeah.
You get your first bets in, on some no-name players, and you kind of feel that like, oh man, I wish this was real, but it's the Hall of Fame game, and you kind of wake up to it. But so
it's also awesome to be at the expo with other content creators, and there's like preseason games going on, and none of us have any content responsibilities. So like it's one of those last times that we can all just sit and watch games and crack jokes, and nobody's got to nobody's got to post, nobody's got to write anything that night necessarily.
Well, speaking of, the lack of responsibility, the drinks flowing, like, do you get it? Some crazy stuff tends to happen, at the expo. Some wiffle ball games in the streets at 2 a.m. Do
He
you
missed
get
that
into
last year. He
any of
wasn't
that?
around for that.
Well, right, but it's not just last year. I mean,
I love wiffle ball. How are well, if it's going on at 2 a.m., okay, I've probably ghosted the party by 2 a.m. But if it could just go on at like 1 a.m., I'll be part of wiffle ball.
Well, I hit up Eric Froton. He will have that and ball in hand. I guarantee it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. That was the whole thing. I swear we need to make like T-shirts or something. I've been thinking about that idea of, wiffle ball in front of George's.
Yeah,
Oh, midnight
Georgia's
wiffle ball would be
wiffle
great.
ball league.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
absolutely.
let's set that up. This is a I'll be quick on this, but like one of the when I first broke into like sports writing, generally I wasn't doing fantasy writing. I was doing very local stories around Chicago.
Mhm.
And one of the first features I wrote was about this group of guys on the south side of the city that had been playing wiffle ball in a very competitive way for like their whole lives, right? They were in, I think at the time they were like in their late 30s, and they had records. They had paper records in spiral notebooks that went back to like when they were 8 and 9 years old. They
Wow.
kept box scores of their wiffle ball games, and at that point had been doing it for nearly 30 years.
Wow.
And there's not a doubt in my mind that they and their children are still doing it. So they probably now have 50 years of wiffle ball records, and
That's great.
I
That's
so
great.
want to go back and check it out.
Yeah.
But man, shout out wiffle ball, love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff.
So let me just put this here. Jorge talks about first time I met Andy, Dave Richard finished introducing me to the participants in the Kings Classic with him. Then, as I was walking away, Andy chased me down, gave me a Kings Classic T-shirt as a gift. There's a story for you. What? So, tell me a little bit more about like, first time you met Jorge. What, some of the people that you've met at the expo that you enjoy.
Oh shoot, man! The whole like fantasy and frames crew is they're awesome. I've loved every one of them. Love getting to interact with them. It's been great meeting them sort of one by one over the years. They're great. Nate and his family are fantastic. So like, I feel like I always seek them out as soon as I get to the DoubleTree, head down to the bar. Right, like they're always there, and those guys are super friendly. They just kind of embody, I don't know, that the expo has certainly helped this to a large extent, and FSGA also over the years. Like there's such an easy camaraderie in the fantasy industry, and it's just not. It might feel differently if you're like, I don't know, maybe if you're at the industry side of the conference, you're at FSGA, and it's you're maybe the execs feel a level of competition with some of the other fantasy providers and content companies. I don't know, but I'm doing the same job as the fantasy and frames guys, and they're doing the same job as the people at ESPN and CBS and Fantasy Life and every other platform, right? And we're all, I don't know. There's just a nice shared sense of community in that group, in that room, and so whether it's, I don't know. There's also, I'm always embarrassed at the people that like, there's a lot of fantasy people who live in and around Chicago, and I don't see enough of them until we get to the expo and we hang out, right? So that's always cool too, like reconnecting with Pat Fitzmaurice. And I hate to, I mean, it's a long list of people that I look forward to seeing every year. Juan, Troy King, man, it's such a good group. Though I guess, okay, Mike Fiella, somewhat regrettable, but I do have to interact with him every year. But virtually everyone
all
else
those Yahoo guys,
really love
Yanowski and Matt Harmon,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Harmon is barely tolerant of other human beings, but man, does he put on a brave face at the expo.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Andy, as you're coming now, you've only missed 1 year, and we missed you greatly last year for sure. Talk about maybe one of your favorite moments that just kind of caught you off guard, whether it was, somebody new that you'd never met that just, seemed super excited to see you, or maybe somebody who was a fan of yours and they were starting as content creator, and, you came on one of their shows. I've heard all of these stories from, various people and various things. My gosh, I got Andy Behrens to come on my podcast, or Marcus Grant, or Dave, Rich, or whatever. Talk about like that, where, somebody new in the industry who you never met, started talking with you, and now you've, known them for a few years now.
Yeah. I think the interactions that stick with me the most are the people who, and there's a lot of these people. So I could, I'll name one, but it could be any number of people, like folks who have, I don't even know what their niche was when they started showing up at the expo. Like, I don't know. I don't know what Joey Wright was doing when he started showing up at the expo. That guy's awesome.
Yeah.
And he's made a career out of it, and he's a just absolutely lovely person, right? And seeing him find space in the community has been great. Like just everybody that I feel like everybody that I interacted with years ago who now like the oh man Kate and Michelle, right? Just absolutely fantastic. I feel like they were part of the original crew who showed up at Buffalo Wild Wings like
right on
way back in the
2019.
day.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that was
like
our first year of the actual Expo and Kings Classic, and we all met at BW3's in Saturday night after Kings Classic, and then did the Expo the next day. And Kate and Michelle came over and were there, and yeah,
and I
it
feel
was
those two were just trying to launch, like they're just trying to get like
mhm.
fingernails into
And now
the
Kate
rock
works for you
face, and
guys, right?
and
Yeah.
cling to the industry in some way. And one of them gave me like I forget what it was, like a stack of stickers or something to like put in the men's bathroom on their behalf, so that like people could take a sticker or a leaflet or something.
Oh,
Like
I love it.
I don't know, but they were hustling back then, and now they're super well established in the industry. People love
Yeah.
them. Those are the things that I don't know, I find really gratifying. You must find really gratifying too, because
Oh,
like
yeah. I
you've kept this
mean,
thing alive and created it.
yeah. I mean, again, I created this to get us all together, and just I thought of it more of a family reunion type, but it was also to have all of these very smart people in the industry share their knowledge face to face. Like you're
Mhm.
sitting in the stands, watching them on stage, interact, get that up close and personal stuff. But all of the things that have happened that are even more amazing, like the people who got jobs, like Lawrence Jackson and Kate, and
Yeah.
all these people who were either just entering or really didn't even know where they were going with their lives. And Lawrence is always obviously my personal favorite, just because like this guy was driving a truck, doing videos in his truck for fantasy
Yeah.
football,
Yeah.
and now he's probably outside of Matthew Berry, he's one of the bigger faces on NBC Sports. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a movie, folks. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
And again, I never expected that, but because it happened, it just makes everything so much more awesome, knowing that we've gotten this far with it. And hopefully we'll get. Last year we had 60% new vendors, which means there was new products, apps, games, whatever. This year, we're probably trending the same, where it's got a lot of new people. We've met a lot of people at FSGA, new people meeting, just have reached out to us, and have got new stuff to show off. Yeah. So, I mean, those are kind of things that I always tell people, hey, it was people like Howard Bender and Bob Harris and some of those folks when I was getting into the community with the consistency stuff and felt like, oh, is anybody even reading this? Does anybody care? And here was Bob, here was Howard. Hey, you want to come on our thing? You want to come on my pod? And they helped, promote the book, promote the site, whatever they were doing. And we're always just, great. And hopefully we're paying that forward now with the expo by doing the same thing with these folks that are showing up this August, last August, and love seeing the stories when somebody says, "Oh yeah, somebody bought my site out, and now I work, I'm part of this company, and and so thank you." And it's like awesome, just so great.
So you mentioned Lawrence, and he's a really great example of, like when I broke into the fantasy industry, you didn't have that many choices, right? Like I had a coveted job at one of the very few fantasy providers and
Mhm.
content providers, right? So like I don't know, you kind of had to read me, and you kind of had to read like the guys at ESPN, and they're just at CBS. There just weren't that many other options. So I just got in early, but it can feel as if the fantasy industry is this sort of really cluttered place, and there's a lot of people
Mhm.
producing podcasts that look a lot like this one, and
Right.
a lot of people that are it's much more competitive now, and there are more voices out there, and there but there is still space if you do something really well. And like
Mhm.
Lawrence's videos, like the that he was producing on his
Yeah.
own,
Yeah.
were we're just a little bit different from anything that anybody
Mhm.
else is putting out there. Super entertaining, really funny, really engaging, the right length, perfect
But
for
still
social.
informative, good,
And
the stuff
yeah, and
behind it.
like
Yeah.
the industry isn't so big and it isn't so fossilized that like you
Right.
can't really shine through, and you can't. I'm
Right.
like, you can break out if you're doing something great that nobody else is doing. We're gonna find it in a hurry.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I will say about the expo, and I don't think that we talk about this enough because maybe I just don't talk about this enough, but like, Joe Bryant is there, and you guys won't know this name, but like Jason Klobaka, who is the editorial director for Yahoo Fantasy, like he's going there.
Yeah.
And
Right.
he's not like, Jason might not be, I don't know, he might not be one of like the on camera experts that like people necessarily want to interact with, but like Jason is scouting while he's there, and he is
Mhm.
really interested, and Joe is too. And all these people that are in editorial hiring positions are actually at this thing. So
Right.
Mhm.
not that that should make people nervous or anything, but like there are people who are making content decisions for major sites who are going to this thing and meeting people for the first time and filing away names.
Mhm.
Because you can't, especially during the season when everybody is producing all the content, if you're
Right.
in it, you can't read anybody. Like, I don't have time to read anybody. I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on
Yeah.
anywhere else. Jason doesn't really know what's going on anywhere else because he's in meetings
Right.
all day and he's planning content and he's editing stuff, right? But he can show up at the expo and he can
Right.
shake a bunch of hands and he can have some drinks with people he's never met before, and he can file away names of people that he's really enjoyed. So we've brought a lot of people in at Yahoo, both for guest appearances and for like seasonal work, and
Right.
it's strictly because Jason had positive interactions with them at
Awesome.
the expo. And that's not just Yahoo. Like, there's going to be
Mhm.
people there from CBS and ESPN, and
Yeah.
again, all the
NBC,
content providers
obviously.
that you can think of. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's obviously I didn't know Jason was doing that, but it makes a lot of sense.
No,
Sure.
it's pretty awesome. I think, if there's plenty of people that I interact with on Twitter or in our Discord, in the Expo Discord, where, they're kind of, I've got a visible enough face now with the Expo. They'll ask me like, "Hey, like I'm starting up a podcast or I'm thinking of getting into the industry. Like, is the Expo a good event to go to?" And I just give a resounding yes of like,
Mhm.
no matter what, like if you can
Yeah.
come in completely a new person to the industry and find a spot. If you are creating some amount of content and it's gaining success, like we've seen, you can land a spot at NBC. But if you're not necessarily creating that level or that much content, you could still go to, a smaller group.
Mhm.
There's plenty. It's like the whole range of the industry is there. So you can find, even if you're doing it on your own, and you just want to
Mhm.
find some guests to come on your show so that you
Right.
can, get your name out there. It's a really great place. It's really just it's like the community in person.
Yeah.
You know.
Mhm.
The thing that I would expect to see in the years ahead, and who knows, maybe this is already happening this year. I'd expect to see content creators from other sports showing up and content
Mm.
companies from other
Never thought
sports
of that.
showing up, because a lot of it, like, I don't know, like the people that are there from ESPN, people that are there from Yahoo, CBS, whatever, like a lot of us cover multiple sports.
Right.
Certainly anybody who's on the editorial decision making side is involved in other sports too. And I don't know, there's a couple of industry events that within baseball that everybody shows up to, but there's nothing really among like, basketball, fantasy basketball content creators. It's just, I don't know. It's really nice. We're all doing football work anyway, but there's no reason why people who have products and content to promote from other sports aren't there as well. Especially some of the sports that are like in their off season at that
Right.
exact time.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, I mean, Nate mentioned it a little bit earlier, but are heavy focused on the fans this year. We really are going after the fans. Again, we did a big survey after last year's event. a lot of the people were like, as Nate said, I'm uncomfortable going to some of the big names. And what if there was a meet and greet? And, well, just getting a ticket to the Hall of Fame is nice, but I don't know where to go and what direction. And so this year now, with your Ultimate Fan Engagement package, you get a guided tour of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. 90 minutes. Staff of the Pro Football Hall of Fame will take you around, point out things. So that's part of it. And then another part of it is something that never even crossed my mind until this past year. And I know, Andy, we have every different kind of Kings Classic, Queens Classic, IDPs, Dynasty, all these different versions. And we never created a Fans Classic. So a lot of people said, how do we get to come and draft at the Pro Football Hall of Fame with all the big names? And I'm like, well, honestly, you can't. But if we create a Fans Classic, then we can. And so we are doing two different things this year. We're doing a qualifier. So it's kind of like Scott Fishbowl. You just join. It's $25, but you get a T-shirt that says Fans Classic exclusive. Can't have it. Can't get this. You can't buy this T-shirt unless you're in the Fans Classic. You get a consistency guide. There's all kinds of other things we're going to give away. And then the final 12 or 14 at the end of the year are going to get the opportunity to draft in 2026 live at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, right beside us at the during the Kings Classic Day on Saturday. But we said we have to have an initial one. So this year in 2025, we are asking folks like you, Andy, and others that we've interviewed, so Howard, Bob Harris, all those guys, to pick their favorite fan to represent them in the first ever annual Fans Classic. Those 12 to 14 people will be sitting right beside us in the Pro Football Hall of Fame at their own table with doing their own drafts, same style, same format, same rosters. And the winner of that, whoever they're representing, they will get an all-expense paid trip to the expo in 2026 to sit beside their favorite expert during their Kings Classic. So, Andy, if your fan wins, you will have I'll call it a co-owner, but in quotes, to sit there beside you to watch, listen, right there in the mix with you guys at the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
So I don't want to pick somebody who I think is going to do too well. I don't
do.
I don't need. Are
you going to be like Dave Richards and go, I'm not letting them tell me anything? Like, come on, man, just let them enjoy.
I'm not really the co-manager type.
Yeah, no, he said they're not allowed to be a co-owner. I said, that's fine. So they sit there. Remember, they're your biggest fans. So they're going to be just giddy to be beside you and watch this thing. So you got any thoughts? I know we kind of pushed this to you a little bit, a few months ago. Probably got lost in all of your shuffle between baseball season, football season, draft, everything going on. Have you thought about how you're going to pick your favorite fan to represent you in this year's Fans Classic?
Well, I might pick one of my bots, one of my many bot followers on
bot followers.
on
yeah,
X.
They have to show up live. So unless you have an actual robot that will draft there, it doesn't.
Love my bots. Absolutely love my bots. Might pick one of those. I'm a little tempted. I'm not. This probably isn't the sort of behavior that I should want to reinforce. So maybe I won't go this route. But I have some trolls. Like I have some trolls who like to drop into the mentions from time to time and point out my absolute worst takes. And I don't listen. I've lived on the internet, right? I grew up on the internet, so it doesn't bother me. There's very little that you can say to me online that has not already been said to me online, and so or in person, but especially online.
Bob Harris, I'm sure.
I have a lot of back and forth with trolls, as long as it's as long as they're keeping it clean and not political and whatever. Like I don't mind going back and forth. With people.
Right, sure.
So I'm a little bit tempted to pick a troll and force them to have a really uncomfortable in-person interaction with me.
Nice.
Well, there you have it, folks. If you're a troll of Andy Behrens, get on the horn and start nitpicking him to death. Say, hey, you stink, so why don't you have me draft for you?
The problem is so many of my trolls actually work in the fantasy industry that.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you can't pick one of them. So you can't pick your boss, Jason. I know
I
he's
can't
a
pick Howard
pain.
Bender there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I can't pick Jake Seeley. I
Right.
gotta.
Yeah.
It's the roast of Andy Behrens.
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
yeah, no, I'm really excited for this fans classic and getting that opportunity for fans to come in, play this game and get to kind of represent you guys. It's Yahoo and Sirius XM and all of that. And what's great is this fan experience packages we put together. And this is something that maybe we weren't super clear about, but all of those experience packages, they basically come with 2 fantasy leagues that you get to join. You get to join the Kings Classic through the Fans Classic, and then there's a draft night out draft.
Right.
And you get part of that. So I got the opportunity to explain that to one of our Ultimate Fan purchasers who was a little bit, confused on that, and it was super excited. So make sure, if you're somebody, watching this that comes to the expo that wants to do draft night out, just know that these fan packages also include the draft night out.
Right.
And you get an opportunity to go to that event as well, which is a separate ticketed event that we've been able to include in these packages. But Bob, talk a little bit about the change in the Saturday night party. I don't know if maybe Andy's not aware of
Yeah,
what we're
Andy might
doing.
not be aware. So, Andy, we
I
are
just
not doing.
show up wherever you point me. Like wherever you point me, that's where I'm going to
Okay.
go. So I'm very
So
low
have you ever
maintenance
been
there.
to? Did you ever go to the M Bar and do the poker tournament?
I have not done the poker tournament because
Okay.
where can I just send somebody $500? Like I'm not gonna pay attention. I don't have the
It's
attention
only
span
$50.
for poker.
So
I
anyway,
don't go watch like card tricks. Is anybody
yeah.
performing card tricks? Anything like that?
So again, as part of our survey, and I heard a lot of people that evening complain, we have decided to not have the Saturday party at the stadium. While the stadium was cool, maybe first couple of years, the lack of beverage choices and food choices and the grossly overpricing thereof led to a lot of people to say, can we do something else? Or, so I had discussions with I call them the village people, Hall of Fame Village, and they said they can't do anything about it because AVI is the only source of food and drinks that you can get at the stadium.
Yeah.
That's their contract. So I can't bring in any outsiders to add on to it. So we decided to move it to the M Bar / Jersey's restaurant. Now, if you remember, Jersey's is also the place that's at Centennial. That same owner of that restaurant bar, which does a great job on the Friday night party, owns those 2 bars that are side by side and connected up in our mall area. We call it Belden Village. And so we're going to have the party there take over both bars, outside, inside, music and TVs will be on. All kinds of your choices of craft beers, regular beers, alcohol, whatever you like. Great food at half the price of what you would have spent at the stadium. So we're really excited about it. They're really excited about having us. They're going to keep up a bunch of the tents that they use for Hall of Fame weekend anyway for us, so that, if the weather is inclement, we can move into those. Or just move inside, which is also another benefit just in case. So we're really excited about that this year. And so, yeah, we decided.
That's awesome. That's a great idea. And the party itself is always great.
Yeah.
I hear you on the concession prices and the nature of the concessions and all that. But somehow it would also feel wrong to be in a stadium and not drinking I don't know, but like moderately intolerable beer and fried food and all that, right?
Yeah, but after 4 or 5 years of it, it gets intolerable. Plus now we'll have some TVs for the games that are on, all that kind of great stuff. And, you can still mingle around, go inside, go outside, depends on the weather. So we'll still probably do, I'm sure.
We still have a
Trophy
flag
Smack.
football tournament. Are we still? Are they
That
still
is
playing
one
flag
thing
football?
we are not going to do this year. That is, I won't say it's worn its welcome out, but it was tough to even get enough teams to play this past year.
Well, you're probably canceling it before you get a catastrophic injury, which might be
that too. I mean, we've had a couple of those. I mean, was it Troy King who tore his Achilles like the first play of the first game that we ever did it on the field? Haven't had any major ones since that I'm aware of, but after our peak with Des Bryant being there, it kind of went downhill. So we had no problem getting 16 teams that year. Last year we could barely get 8. And we were like week before we were like trying to beg people putting teams 7 and 8 together. So just was a lot of work and a lot of effort for not a lot of people participating, honestly. And so by taking that away, now it gives all of us after the Kings Classic a little more time to, especially me, to kind of move over to the bar restaurant, the Jerseys and M Bar, for you guys to do the meet and greet at 6 p.m. So that's kind of the other reason we decided.
Also, we can focus our energy on midnight wiffle ball.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
But speaking of those games and events that happen, the cornhole tournament, the sign up is live on the front page of the website for the Friday night party. Get in there and sign up for cornhole. You can do it just yourself. You don't need a partner or anything.
Yeah.
You get assigned one at the event, and you just kind of give a 1 to 3 rating of how good you are, and then we kind of make even teams. So I know some people were talking about that, and that is linked and live, ready to go.
You got to get Brad Evans in there. I don't know if he's signed up for it before, but Brad's like good, and Brad takes it seriously.
He's a 3.
He's like one of the
right.
I pick up the beanbag and it's gone, right? Like I don't have I don't have to like flip it in my hand a few times. I'm not hitting the rosin bag or whatever Brad does.
I had to force to retire after my championship the first year. So
you hung it up. You were like,
I took a lot of flack for maybe it being fixed.
But Brad takes it really seriously.
Okay,
and,
all right. I want to play Brad then.
he knows some rules that I'm not familiar with, right? Like, and Brad does the little the little frisbee. I don't know. Brad's good. You should get Brad.
Okay, all right, Brad. You heard it. Andy Behrens calling you out. So we'll make sure we get a short of this one.
Brad might think he's too good for the Expo cornhole. Actually,
hey, Brad, you're not too good.
He might be a little bit too elitist for you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, we do try. There's a challenge to it, because if you are that good, you get an equally not good partner. So you have to overcome that to really win it. So maybe there's a challenge there that he could show off just how good he is by carrying
his whole team.
Oh boy, I don't know. Brad's also got a volcanic temper. That might be a bad.
So I can trash talk him and get him all fired up. Oh, I like it. I got this already. I'll just get in his head right off the bat.
That was a joke, by the way.
I'll just walk up and go, Behrens says you suck. So we'll be doing cornhole as we always do on Friday night. That's certainly everybody. I don't think anybody's ever said. I think I've won. I said to somebody like, "What if we'll move the Friday party?" You would have thought I just called their kid ugly. Everybody loves that place, and I do too. And I would not do that, but because I guess it's not like the stadium where we have to be forced into the food and drinks, and they're not that kind of stuff.
Like the perfect spot.
Centennial is just perfect. So
it's always. I mean, of course, there's been a couple rainstorms that have come through, but when they're not there, it's like a beautiful night.
Yeah,
you're right in the middle. Like, you've got that TV watching one of the football games, everybody's around you, and then when you disperse, everyone ends up at George's or
Right.
one of
Yeah.
the local bars or the
Yeah. Then the
DoubleTree.
pub crawls begin.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's really great though. It's a great space. Like
Yeah, it really is.
Canton's low key pretty great, and it's a very short walk from the hotel too. So it's good stumbling distance.
Mhm.
It's such a great night.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure DoubleTree sold out except for vendors. But the cool thing is this year that Holiday Inn in town is right across the street from that M Bar in Jersey's where we're having the Saturday
Mm.
party. So if you don't get to get into DoubleTree, which I'm pretty sure it's all sold out, just get the Holiday Inn. It's on the website under hotels once you buy your tickets. It's right across the street from that event, that venue. And the nice thing is that venue now is the poker tournament, draft night out, and the Saturday party are all held there. So if you're in all three of those, you really should stay at the Holiday Inn, folks.
I have actually decided. I booked like the extended stay at the expo this year. I'm going to be like Thursday to Monday this year instead of instead of having to like fly out the afternoon of the last day of the conference and all that. So I'm just gonna make that last night count too, because I haven't done that
karaoke
before.
night.
So, yeah. I don't even really have like a go-to karaoke song. I gotta think through that a little bit.
Yeah.
I do have an angel's voice, but I don't really have a go-to karaoke song.
Gotcha.
I do not.
Well, so as we wrap up here, I do have a fantasy football question to you, Andy, because I'm a fan and I play on Yahoo. Do you have a early peak? Who are your recommendations in the top? Let's say the top 4 of the draft this year. It's super early. I'm assuming that Christian McCaffrey is probably not your suggestion at number 1 this year.
No, I don't think you're going to find Christian McCaffrey going at number 1 this year. I do think it's an interesting, probably comes down to format, all that. But I do think there's like a very legitimate debate this year between Saquon. I would put Bijan Robinson in that group, and I would put Jamar Chase in that group. And everybody knows it's really, really hard to repeat like an all-time season, right? But the point of, if you draft Saquon number 1 coming off a season in which he finished as the top scorer, the point isn't really, oh, he's going to be number 1 again. The point is, well, if he just stays healthy, there's no way he falls outside the top 3, right? So I think all 3 of those guys are perfectly defensible, perfectly sensible picks. I think there will also be, I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen at the level that it did with CEH back in the day. But like, I feel like Ashton-Jeanty still has some room there's still a little bit of helium there, and we're gonna get into the point in the summer when people really want to plant flags. And I don't know where he is in our pre-ranks now. I've got him at number 8 overall, but I can imagine. I don't know. Once you actually have to go through the process of doing projections, I did my own projections back in April, and like I think it's really hard if you want to give Ashton-Jeanty like a full 17 games, it's really hard not to get close to 400 touches. It's really, really hard, right? Like who else do you want to give touches to on that roster right now out of the back?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just. I mean, we know what the team wants to do. We know what those coaches want to do. We know we kind of have a sense of what that.
I mean, my only concern with a kid like him is he didn't play against a lot of NFL quality defenders, both defensive line, linebackers, cornerbacks, and can he survive 400 touches? That's going to be, again,
it's a huge question. It's one of the most significant questions.
It's like, sure, if he can stay healthy, but when's the last time
you absolutely know what that coaching staff wants to do. Also, I don't know what more you could have wanted him to do against, like a lesser level of collegiate competition, right? Like you can't.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm not saying he's not good, but
But I I've actually got him projected to lead the NFL in touches and by a decent margin. Because there are so few players today that legitimately project for absolutely as many touches as they can possibly handle out of backfields, right? It's not, like Bob, you and I had started playing in the 1950s, and everybody wanted their running backs to play every snap, right? But it's obviously it's not like that. So I feel like there's some room for Genty to go. I don't think we're going to reach the point where people are actually taking him number 1 overall, but I don't think it's crazy to have him. If you want to slide him into your top 5, top 6, I don't think that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you're not, like you said, you're only going up 3 spots from what you have. I think I have him 8th as well. Obviously, mine's about consistency. Well, anybody gets that many touches, they're going to score more than 11 points a game in a PPR format. So his consistency should be there. It's just a question of, can he handle that much abuse when he's the number 1 target for the defense every freaking play?
I was also, this is not what you asked at all, but something I was writing about it today. I feel like one of the big, every year in fantasy drafts, there's like 2 or 3 just real pivot points in drafts where, like, the whole thing is a choose your own adventure. But if you go this way, it's absolute disaster. And if you go this way, it works out. Like it's the Robert Woods versus Cooper Kupp in 2021, right? Like that was a real choice. Nobody will admit to preferring Robert Woods today, but a lot of people did. I feel like one of those choices this year is going to be that next rookie running back, right? Because they're all so good. There's like 5 guys that are in what seem like, if not dream situations, very, very good situations by modern standards, right? And they all go within like a dozen picks of each other in the mocks that I participated in. So it's that, like, is it going to be Caleb Johnson? Is it going to be Harvey? Is it going to be Henderson, Judkins, on and on, right? That's the group. And there's going to be 1 or 2 like very right answers from that collection of players. Right. They're very good. They all landed in good spots. 2 of them are going to bust. One of them is going to be fine. One of them is going to be like 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns, and he doesn't make a bit of difference to your roster, right? But like, I feel like there's like 1 or 2 guys in there that are just going to be like, wow, nailed it, and it's a golden ticket to the playoffs.
Yep, that's what it is every year, right? And if we all knew the answers, we would all be rich and we'd be in Vegas. We wouldn't be working in fantasy, right? I think that's what I heard from, I don't know if it was Howard or somebody. Maybe I forget who said that one time, but I was just like,
well, Howard's a bad example. Howard is fantastically rich. He's incredibly wealthy, and he still does this. Howard's one of our industry's billionaires.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
We've got all those Huskies. Yeah. Andy, as we close out, just tell the folks listening out there again, your thoughts about the expo and why they should come, and they should come talk to you. They should bring you donuts or trash talk Bob Harris in front of him, whatever, to get your attention. But just kind of share that last bit of information to help persuade your fans out there to come see you and maybe be your number 1 fan.
The other thing that I haven't mentioned is it's super affordable, right? Yes. It's not like there are no barriers here. You don't have to like renew your membership in the Expo Association. Yeah. Like there's no financial hoops to jump through. Registration is super affordable. Everything along the way. I mean, it's like it's Canton, Ohio prices. That's hard to beat, right?
Everything is 10 minutes from each other.
Yeah. Everything is close by. The Hall of Fame is great. So like it is legitimately a trip where you are going to get your money's worth out of it. So like, don't worry about that. Like you're gonna make a bunch of friends that you're gonna have for years. And wonderful event, great camaraderie there, wonderful atmosphere. And there's just nobody who works in the industry, maybe Matt Harmon aside, who isn't super approachable, who doesn't want to talk to you, who isn't just looking to have knuckleheaded conversations about football
or anything. It doesn't have to be football.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be football. Yeah, but we all have the same, we're all there for the same reason, same interest. We're all fundamentally super similar, and a great event, super affordable, and I'm just really looking forward to it.
Awesome. We're glad to have you back, man.
Yep. Absolutely.
Good to be back.
Well, Andy, Bob, thank you both for being on, Bob, again for another week, and Andy for the first time joining us here. Appreciate it, and for everyone out there watching, make sure you go and get your ticket at thefantasyfootballexpo.com. Make sure you're signed up for the newsletter. Goes out every 2 weeks, and this past newsletter we talked up the icebreaker, the football guys. Poker tournament. There's a lot of great information in that newsletter that goes out. And then follow us on all socials at the FF Expo. Again, thank you so much, Andy, for joining us. It was a great hour. And like I said, I'm a huge fan. Enjoy every year seeing you give me that tidbit of information as I open up my my Yahoo draft. But Bob, any parting thoughts?
No, again, thank you, Andy. Again, thank you from the beginning for helping make this into what it got me started to making it into what it is. Nate has been here now by my side, and thanks to everybody out there who's been a big help. And Andy, you've certainly been a big part of it, folks. We hope to see you all in August. Sign up for everything: cornhole, poker, draft night out. Get the ultimate fan. We've got shirts. Look, I've got the Country Fest shirt on. Get those that merch out there. We got to get Andy some shirts for sure. But again, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.